The war of words between the President of the United States and the BBC has worsened. The state broadcaster, the corporation, has admitted misleading viewers by claiming that Donald Trump called for one of his leading critics to be shot in the face. In an internal memo, BBC News said its coverage had been inaccurate, but no correction was ever issued publicly. The claims concerned Liz Cheney, the daughter of former US Vice President Dick Cheney, and a vocal Republican opponent of Mr. Trump. Let's get reaction now from a veteran of BBC broadcasting, former BBC executive and presenter Roger Bolton. Good morning, Roger.
Good morning.
An unwelcome headline for the BBC, where they would be hoping, wouldn't they, to move on from the Trump panorama scandal. But here we go again.
Well, they'd never be allowed to, because there are people like the Daily Telegraph, the Mail and others who just seize on any bad news and put it on the front page. They don't put the good news. Look, let's be very clear. This was a mistake, shouldn't have been done. But I went back and checked the BBC News website report for the time, and that's entirely accurate. The BBC should have apologised, but it's entirely accurate. It should remind ourselves what Trump actually said. She said about Liz Cheney, who's a Republican and the daughter of a former American vice president. He said he called her a war hawk and dumb, and said, let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her. OK, let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. Now, that's what the BBC should have reported. It should not have reported in the way it did. But, you know, this is Donald Trump.
Most definitely. But, of course, he's the president of the United States. America is our #1 economic and diplomatic and military ally. And what it looks like, the mood music, whether it's this anecdote or whether, of course, it's Panorama or Newsnight or other examples of anti-Trump bias, our national state broadcaster is doing us as a nation no favours by enraging the president.
Well, national state broadcaster, the BBC isn't a national state broadcaster, but never mind.
Well, how so? How so?
Oh, no, wait, well, it isn't a state. It's not paid for directly by the state like other broadcasters.
Well, it's an arm of the state, isn't it? It's paid for by an obligatory public tax if you switch on your telly.
Sounds
pretty statist.
But let's go
to
the main point. Let's go to the
It's not exactly Netflix, is it?
No, let's go to the essence of it, which is about Trump. By the way, if you've read the American foreign policy strategy document of last week, and you've read the interview he gave to Politico, you will see that actually American foreign policy is changing very significantly. And far from being our #1 ally now, there is a real problem in the relationship, because America, under Trump, has decided to look towards the other direction, effectively tells, Ukraine just settle, and is prepared to, if not pull out of NATO, weaken its resolve. So I don't think you can make statements anymore in which you say America is our main ally. As for Donald Trump, what can we say? He lies, he exaggerates, he throws abuse at everybody. Look at what he said about
So does Rachel Reeves, and so does Sir Keir Starmer, but the BBC is strangely silent on those issues.
Come on, Mark, please.
Keir Starmer is a bigger liar than Donald Trump, I would suggest. He's a wicked liar.
Who are you talking about?
Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, is an outrageous liar.
You called him a wicked liar?
Yes, I think it's wicked. I think it's egregious what he's done. He said that he would raise taxes by around £11 billion. He's raised them by almost 80. He said he would smash the gangs when he knew that he couldn't. By scrapping Rwanda, the boats crisis is worse. He's a wicked liar.
Hold on. Don't you think you have an obligation?
He's much worse than Trump.
Hold on.
At least Trump's closed the border and improved the terms by which America trades. He's smashing it. He's ended 8 wars. He's about to end the Ukrainian war. My God, he's amazing.
Are you interested, Mark, in the conversation?
Of course.
What I would suggest happens here is that all of us, and you included, but certainly Donald Trump, are using language in a way we wouldn't have before, which encourages people to think there's a conspiracy against them, as opposed to very difficult issues which all governments have to deal with. I'm not going to defend the Labour government, as I wouldn't defend the Conservative government before for its record. But what I do think we need to do,
I agree with you on that.
Be more respectful of politicians and the difficulties they face. We don't need to be that respectful of a United States president who uses language in that way. So the BBC should make absolutely sure it reports accurately, should apologise when it doesn't. But can we tone this down? We are in a dangerous situation for liberal democracy. There is a real question about whether it's going to survive in the United States. I would suggest that all of us try and understand the problems and talk in reasonable language instead of using language like wicked. Wicked is not mistaken, saying somebody's mistaken.
It's a moral judgment on a man who is a proven liar.
You're making
and he's nearly as bad as his neighbour at number 11, who said that the focus of this government would be growth, 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 and she's literally destroyed growth.
Well,
and she has completely backtracked on her plans for taxation.
Mark, you're under obligation to be impartial. You can express opinion, you should be impartial. You should be very careful about using language.
I'm not under any obligation to be impartial. What's required across the 3 hours of this programme is for a variety of views, and I'm so delighted to have yours, which are at odds with mine, and that's the essence of talk.
No, my views on this are that you and all the rest of us have to face up to real difficult issues in this country, an ageing population, a soaring benefits,
sure,
real problems about getting productivity and growth going.
Absolutely.
All parties have faced this. Instead of calling politicians wicked, why don't we try and examine those issues, and as the same with immigration, and try and work together a bit more closely? You calling the Prime Minister wicked does nothing for the standard of public debate.
Well, are we allowed to call him a liar? But Trump, the BBC will characterise Donald Trump as a dishonest man and a narcissist and a liar. Can't we do the same for Keir Starmer, who I would argue is just as bad, if not worse?
Well, it's interesting you make that comparison. A lot of people wouldn't. But can we just tone all the language down? I wish the President of the United States...
In what way is Keir Starmer more trustworthy and more, morally virtuous than the President? Well, you just poured a bucket of the brown stuff over Donald Trump, who is transforming the fortunes of the United States. And I've got deep Trump envy. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer is destroying this country. So we should call that out.
Well, that's your view.
But in your worldview, in your woke bubble, Roger, Trump's the bad guy, and Keir Starmer is this sort of wonderful, pillar of the establishment.
No, not at all. You're putting words into my mouth.
We can't call wicked. Well, I think it's wicked to lie, and I think it's a threat to liberal democracy to have a manifesto upon which you renege. That's a breach of contract.
Am I allowed to say anything?
Absolutely.
I thought you were an interviewer. Sorry, and I thought I was the interviewee. You were making a whole range of statements, some
all of which are provable.
I don't, but I'm not here to a political figure. What I am here to try and do...
You've just been political about Donald Trump. You just said he was a terrible man.
I didn't say a terrible... What I said was his language is... anybody...
You said he's a threat to the liberal world order or some other nonsense.
This is an impossible conversation because you're determined to push onto me a set of political views like woke, which I may or may not have. You're determined to identify me, and what I'm trying to do is dealing with journalism and suggesting to you that you should do some journalism, analyse the facts instead of simply pouring adjectives onto everybody and calling the Prime Minister of this country wicked. Mistaken, fine. He's misled people, fine. You can say all these things. Wicked's a very special word, and I think we should be very careful about how we use it. We need now our politicians to solve extremely difficult problems. We're in a divided country with a massive series of problems for Ukraine and immigration and everything else. If we start just condemning each other instead of trying to understand the issues and understand each other's point of view, we're finished. Using language about our Prime Minister like wicked does not help. Roger,
thank you so much. And maybe I was too inflammatory. What do you think, folks? 0344